This is the math video for lesson 2.3, and today we're talking about subtracting with decimals. Just like addition, there are rules for subtraction. So you need to take out your notebook, and this is the second entry we're making into our notebooks. So you should turn to your next clean page. Do not leave any gaps in between, but do not continue on the same page as your addition examples and rules. Turn to the next, go to the top of the next clean page, write your title clearly at the top, rules for subtraction. Now the rules for subtraction are exactly the same as addition, but you subtract instead of add. Remembering the rules for regrouping will be especially important. Now you need to write this down. I know it might seem a little bit silly, but write it down. And if you need to pause the video right now, go ahead and pause it, continue writing it down, and when you have finished, resume your video. Okay, now you have the rules for subtraction written down. Well, actually, you have a note that they're the same as addition. So I want you to turn back your page to your addition and take a look at those steps, because we're going to be following those same steps to do our subtraction examples. Remember, these examples also should go in your notebook. Now our first step is always to make a magnitude estimate before we begin. So here we have 2 7/10 minus 56 hundredths. So if I'm estimating this using my proper rules for rounding, I'm going to be thinking 3 minus 1 equals 2. So my answer should be somewhere in the ballpark of 2. The next step is that I need to rewrite my problem. I need to line up the numbers properly. Here, they've done that for us. My ones are lined up, my decimal points, my tenths, my hundredths. Now, here's one of those situations where we have that space there because we don't have any hundredths in this number. We need to add that 0 to keep that placeholder there. This is especially important when we're subtracting because we do need to treat that space as a 0. And when we start subtracting now, step 3, we always begin with the smallest place value, so all the way on the right. You can see how this is really important because we have a situation here where we've got 0 take away 6. Now, 5th graders, you know what a lot of kids try to do? They sort of flip it around in their mind and they think, oh, well, that's 6. Wrong. 0 minus 6, we can't do. If we have 0, we can't take away 6. So before we can start subtracting here, we need to do some regrouping, and that means we need to trade in. So we need to trade in, we need to take 1 away from this 7. Okay, we need to take 1/10 away from the 7, so we've got 6 left, and we're going to trade those in for 10 hundredths, because we know that 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10. So we're going to take 1 from the 7, have a 6 up there, add 10 to this 0, and when we do that, we can think 10 minus 6 equals 4. Now if we go to the next column, we've got 6 minus 5 now. We can do that. We can take 5 away from 6. So 6 minus 5 is 1. Go to the next column, 2 minus 0 is 2. Step 4, make sure you've got that decimal point in there where it needs to go. Again, just like adding, those decimal points are going to end up all lined up perfectly in a row, even in your answer. So it's just like you take that decimal point and drop it straight down. Now the last step is to check and make sure this answer is reasonable. We estimated 3 minus 1 equals 2. Does this answer seem reasonable? Absolutely. Make sure you have this problem copied into your notes. Example 2. Now, step 1, make a magnitude estimate. Okay, follow my rounding rules. So I've got 7 5/10 minus 6 37 hundredths. So I'm going to think 8 minus 6 equals 2. So my ballpark is 2. Now, let's arrange our problem. We need to make sure that our numbers are lined up properly. We're subtracting. We also need to make sure that we don't switch the orders of the numbers around because our larger number needs to be on the top. You know, when we're adding, it doesn't really make a difference because of that commutative property, but when we're subtracting, we need to make sure that our larger number is on top, or subtracting the smaller number from the larger number. Okay, so here I have lined up every place value. My ones are over my ones, decimal points are lined up, tenths are lined up, hundredths are lined up. Oops, here I don't have any hundredths. I need to take that 0, put it in there as a placeholder. Now I'm ready to start subtracting, and I need to start to the farthest to the right with the smallest place value. Well, again, we have that problem. We've got 0 minus 7. We can't do that. You cannot take 7 away from 0. And I cannot just drop the 7 down to the bottom. I must subtract. So in this case, I'm going to have to do some borrowing and trading again. So if I take 1 from the 5 here, that gives me 4. And I'm going to trade that 1 in for 10 hundredths here. So I've got 10. Now I can subtract. 10 minus 7 is, you got it, 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. 7 minus 6 is 1. Step 4, make sure you've got your decimal point in there. A decimal point should drop straight down. Hopefully that looks, that's kind of a bad decimal point. Let's drag one of these over there. That looks better. Okay, so my answer is 1 and 13 hundredths. Now the last step is to make sure that seems reasonable. Okay, well I estimated 8 minus 6 equals 2. Is that in the ballpark of 2? You bet it is. Good job. Now, did you know that there's another way you can check answers? You can always use addition to check to see that you got these answers right too, because my answer here added to what I subtracted should equal what I started with. And so if you want to be a really great student and check your answers to be positive that they're correct, you can always do that. 6 and 37 hundredths added to our answer, 1 and 13 hundredths. If I add them together, I should get 7 and 50 hundredths, or 7 and 5 tenths. Okay? Make sure you have this subtraction problem as an example in your notes as well. And that is the end of today's video. See you tomorrow.